son. Where'd you find this?
Buckle up, buttercups. It's time to get down to business. Oh, yeah. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. Totally legit.
Okay, folks, here we are once again. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast, and we've got a couple crazy firsts here. We've got the first digital guest who's completely digitized. They are a content creator of a very exciting new future. I want everyone to welcome Kiwi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for hosting me.
No, thanks for coming. This was super cool. I'm glad we were able to. I was telling my buddy Preston I want to get more people who are in this space, just because it's surprisingly difficult to get people to come on here and show their face. But it's completely understandable. But I was really excited when you kind of responded to that and said you'd be down to do this. So why don't you, just for the sake of my audience, why don't you explain in lay people's terms what you do and what you're trying to accomplish with your projects in the space?
Sure. So I started crypto in 2017. I have a developer background, so I did actually work with Preston at Prismatic Labs for a little over 2 years on the proof of stake stuff. So I did a lot of really nerdy dev stuff for a few years. And then 2021 came around and I started getting more exposure to the NFT side, like a lot of art. And it just felt more natural for me to participate in. I was never a formally educated engineer, like software engineer. As the ETH work got more realistic with the launch coming in, it got more stressful.
Yeah.
And yeah, this art stuff just came up at the same time. And I kind of just started spending more time with it.
It was a natural bridge.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. It really felt natural for me at the time. It was a struggle to leave what I've done so far, of course, but over time it became more apparent, like just how much I was enjoying it. And since then, I left Prismatic to focus on my first NFT collection called uwucrew, with some other people that I've met. And since then we've launched over 5 different NFT collections on Ethereum, all with different people, not necessarily all the same group, but all different types of styles and communities, all like anime adjacent. We have a huge community now. If you add it all up, it's probably over 10 to 15,000 people.
That's amazing.
Over 250 artists from all over the world.
It's so cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And it's really a lot of fun to work with these different creators. The NFT side of things, still maybe people are figuring it out. But if there's anything that works really well for it, I like to say that's art. Because, if you sell digital art, what else do you do with it, right? Like, where else should it go? How do you sell it? And NFTs are really just a great solution to that are really, really clear to me. So I love to keep building in that. I want to keep building a future for digital art within the on-chain community, and hopefully encourage more people to see that themselves, right? To see the value of what it means to own digital art and what that means for the creators themselves too.
So were you into art at all before you got into dev?
Actually a bit. I went to like an art focused middle school, kind of. That was really it. A few years during my school time, I had some exposure to it, and I definitely do look back sometimes. And I'm like, man, like what's up with all this art stuff? Like where did that come from? And like, oh, actually I did do a few years of it in school. I'd say the main part that it came from, I listen to a lot of Japanese music.
Sure.
And a lot of the times they have like these really cool like anime style covers for the albums. And that was definitely where a lot of the first kind of taste for it, I guess, came from.
Is this like middle school, high school times, or?
Yeah, I mean, my whole life, really, I've always listened to that kind of stuff. But yeah, I guess starting since middle school onward, it's been a big thing for me. So it's great to actually, meet a lot of these creators. There's some creators I've met that have been, that have illustrated some of my favorite albums and whatnot. It's been great to make an impact in the creator scene through NFTs, and also, meet some of the people that inspire me a lot.
Yeah, no, what more could you ask for doing this?
Right. Right.
I'm interested to know too, like, as somebody who was just kind of discovering NFTs in the NFT space, like, what were the things that like shocked you the most once you really started to get involved?
Well, the artist community is quite incredible. It's interesting seeing the balance there is, or the diversity. There's from artists from all sorts of countries all over the world. Having an on-chain community, global on-chain community is really powerful. It's pretty interesting seeing how many artists come from countries like Indonesia or Thailand or Brazil, or even the Philippines, or of course there's plenty that come from Japan, right? Naturally, because of the anime inspirations over there. What's pretty interesting is for Thailand, we don't have really any like community members necessarily from Thailand, but really just like artists. Like there's like 15, 20, 30, maybe even artists that hail from Thailand, and contribute to our community. But it's really incredible seeing, just how different the demographics look, I guess, when you're participating in a global ecosystem.
So how long does it take? You said you've pulled together, it's about 10,000 people. How long were you building before you really started to like notice some steam behind it? Like, oh shit, there's a lot of people now. This was just a couple. Now it's much more.
Right. Yeah. So uwucrew launched September 2021. It just had its 3-year anniversary this month.
Nice. Congrats.
Thanks a lot. So that was a little bit chiller. I was on the slower end, I'd say, when we launched uwucrew. We had some community input for sure. We did some art contests, and that attracted some people for sure. But then the NFT scene kind of started heating up as a whole after that. I'd say around December, January time. And Collectr launched on the second half of January. And this was with Collectr was with an artist that had a much bigger influence, an existing following. They had a history behind, League of Legends for over 10 years as a senior character concept artist.
Damn.
Absolutely stellar, creator. And it was also a strong, I don't know, the activity was just getting really increased around that time. The whole market was kind of growing. So Collectr absolutely got an incredible amount of attention once we launched that, and even before Collectr actually launched, all uwucrew holders received free access to the project early. So that just brought so many kinds of people over to uwucrew. And I definitely say when KGF launched, that was certainly when it felt like we were on a radar.
Yeah.
Of sorts. uwucrew was just super quiet and chill and whatever, but KGF just got an obscene amount of attention, really. And that Discord grew to, I had to say, at least 40,000 people at the peak of that.
Damn.
But the markets have changed, and some of them were bots or whatever. Who knows? It's dwindled out a bit since then, and people aren't as active anymore either in this type of market. But yeah, definitely around KGF time, January 2022, was when things got more serious, when we got more attention. There were all sorts of projects that were inspired by Collectr that launched after that too, which is really cool to see.
The mimetic nature of it, yeah.
Right. Yeah, and just like people seeing these types of collections with the theme in some way, really inspired some creators out there.
One thing I think most people, especially people who aren't involved in crypto or blockchain at all, I don't think people have an idea for how passionate that whole group of people is, especially in the NFT space. You know, I NFTs were not necessarily something that was super on. Preston put them on my radar like way back in the day, but it was just something that didn't really make sense to me conceptually. But as it started to pick up speed, I began to pay more attention. And, you know, there are some bands that I listen to where their fans will like kill you if you say anything about them or their space. And you don't really see that much anymore, except for maybe Taylor Swift. Except for in crypto. Like, I feel like the people who have been there at least for a couple years, they're like committed on a level beyond the bear or bull market. So I think a lot of people, you know, look at all the shit that happened at the last downturn, maybe FTX and all of that scuzz, and they're like convinced that this space is dead and there's no one in it. And what I always have to explain to them is that that's incorrect. There's a lot of people in it, and a lot of them are building and working on cool things, waiting for the next wave of, again, like as we step toward mass adoption of all of these things.
That's right.
But I'm interested to hear like your take on it. Like you were writing out, this one's been a hard wave. It's been a hard wave, and there's been like a lot of shit said about the blockchain as a whole, and especially NFTs. And I'm interested to know your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to portray to people, you know, how much dedication there is behind the scenes, on all aspects of the crypto industry, really, you know, not just NFTs, but the DeFi side, and you know, there's all sorts of interesting financial tools being built over there, and other sorts, you know, there's countless stuff. It's the whole world, really, you know, so it's even hard to, it's difficult for anybody to get a grip on what the whole scene is because of the nature of it, right?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being decentralized, right?
Right. But, yeah, you know, there's still a lot of people, I'd say, in the traditional anime community that have a very strong, you know, hate or detest for NFTs in general.
Really?
Yeah, maybe they could be a vocal minority, really. But if you see any anime promote any sort of NFT thing, the Twitter feed is just stuffed with people hating on it and ditching them, or it's really sad, really, how much these people who say they support the community actually just get like mad at the creators for just trying to find
is it like a heresy kind of thing? Like they don't think anime should be involved in NFTs, or
it's not tied to anime. I'd say it either has roots in political nature, because maybe crypto is tied to people as like a right wing or like libertarian kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's either political or, you know, just the standard of people not looking deeper into things. It's a tough topic to even learn more about, really. You know, if I want to learn about crypto, I don't even know where to start with that. Yeah. What I've seen a lot is, you know, people have a friend that shows them. And that's kind of like how they get in, right? Unless they're like super, super curious and they don't have any like negative feelings associated, then they can dig in themselves. But yeah, it's a really tough. Yeah, they just really don't like it at all. Maybe especially with like the AI stuff recently too. They kind of like batch the two together. Oh,
for sure, yeah. It's like that nobody wants a Terminator scenario. They're convinced it's going to happen.
Yeah, and like, you know, all these people, they see all the bad side of it, you know, and there is a lot of bad sides. So, you know, I don't blame them for seeing that stuff, but it's just tough when the bad actors make us all look bad, you know?
Well, that's why I brought up FTX, because that was like a noticeable shift in the sentiment toward crypto. It was kind of like looking pretty good for a while. Right. And then FTX, after that whole thing, that's like Madoff level scandal. Everyone really got, you know, apprehensive about it.
And they were such a big like figurehead in the space too for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, for a long time. Like, you know, in terms of the history of this very young thing, he was kind of a prominent figure for a while. So it was a big shock for a lot of folks. But I'm of the mind that this shit isn't going anywhere. And clearly by looking at how the government is treating it, it's not going anywhere. I kind of, regardless of which politician wins, regardless of what they're saying right now, I 100% guarantee that they're going to still move forward with integrating blockchain and definitely cryptocurrency, even as a way for just bankers to make money into the traditional systems. That's not going away. But in terms of art, this one's the hard one for me to sell people on, because once I understood what an NFT was, it became very easy for me to understand. I release music, and it's hard for me to track the use of my music on the internet, and definitely it's impossible to get paid for it. That's because I have to go through these traditional channels.
Right.
And once I understood what NFTs were, it clicked for me. Oh, this is it. This is how I lock down the digital component of releasing music or art in whatever way.
Right.
So I guess I'm interested. What are the most exciting things about creating art on chain? Like what is it that like really does it for you?
Well, the impact it makes is quite incredible. A lot of people might be focused on big numbers and, big crowds, or trying to bring all of Web 2 into the scene or something. But I feel like that's kind of missing the forest for the trees a bit. Like if you slow down and just see like what type of impact this is making individually on people, it's really stunning. There's people, I've met countless illustrators who have been able to, they've built up enough of a following through their art that they can just focus on making NFTs for their career. But also, in countries like, Brazil or Thailand or Vietnam or Philippines or Indonesia, these artists who didn't really have any other option to sustain themselves before now have something that's actually a lot of opportunity for them. Yeah. And something that they can make an impact from anywhere, just from, they're not limited by just what's around them, by where they can walk to or what's in their country anymore. They can really just create and have the whole world see it at the same time. And if it's something like an auction, the whole world fights for it at the same time, right? Everyone's trying to get a piece from them. But yeah, that's really the stunning part of it. A lot of people might be like, they might play it down or something, but these are actual lives being changed here. And sure, it's not like in the thousands of the, tens of thousands, but it's a start somewhere, and it wasn't always this big either. That the number of people affected by this has grown too, from what used to be probably a few dozen is now easily in the few hundreds at least, of people that are contributing. People who are, these are talented people who have spent their whole lives almost training and practicing illustration, and they finally have an output that rewards them for it in a regular way. Right. And a way that they can build a global audience too. It's really beautiful.
It really is. When I was first made aware of projects, I like had a penchant for like the most fucked up like the weirdest ones. I'm trying to remember the one that I was like stuck on. Puppets of Mayhem. Did you ever come across that one?
I don't know about that one.
What I love about this space is just that there's a million projects, and like there's another right. scenario where like I found this collection. I'm like, oh, I vibe with this art. There's like a whole community. There's a whole people, and a lot of them were other artists. Some of them were people who didn't create art. They're just, collecting or participating because they like the vibe over there. Right. I've spent a lot of time, like I was saying, in music scenes, and out of all the bands I've had and all the places that I've had them, I've had very few be as accepting and as excited for somebody to get involved as in crypto spaces. Like even the projects that I started to follow and would just like engage with, they would engage back with me. I had just started using Twitter, so any engagement to me was like, wow, I can't believe they're actually responding to this.
That's true. That's true.
It's unique in that space, and it's, I think one of my favorite parts about it is it's like a niche of a niche, right? So you just because you're into crypto doesn't mean you're into NFTs.
Right.
But once you get down through that niche to NFTs, it's a whole other world. It's a whole other ecosystem. So I guess my question here is, like, what are the projects in this space that inspired you or get you excited, or the artists who you think are doing like real cutting edge stuff?
Well, for uwucrew, we were definitely inspired by, Bored Apes and Cool Cats, at least creatively, right? In terms of how they made a collection, in terms of what they did with their community in some parts. But yeah, there were some projects that launched before uwucrew did, around that time in 2021, and we were definitely inspired by those creatively. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's tough to get inspired by other projects too, because you don't really know what their intentions are all the time.
That is
You're not
true.
sure
Yeah.
who's behind them, what they're trying to do. They can execute well sometimes for sure. But it is a little challenging to take full inspiration sometimes from what's around us. But in terms of what I'm excited for, I don't have any projects necessarily in the top of my head. It's been tough to get excited for some projects. Maybe just some proven stuff. Like I've seen the Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult, FRWC. They've been working on like a game recently, and they've had a really strong community behind them for years. Like
Love
they're
that
one
name
of
too.
yeah, they're awesome. They do all sorts of they break all sorts of boundaries. Their community is really strong.
Is
They
this
encourage yeah, that's them.
sick?
They
Sick
they
website.
had yeah they're working on like some movie I think or something,
Oh,
some
cool. Hell
series.
yeah.
They got the game that they're launching soon too. They're really incredible. They're really an inspiration for sure, especially with how much they encourage the community to contribute to what they're building. A lot of people, it's challenging to bring in a lot of people into a process, right? But Wizards has done a really good job at doing that, and that's inspiration for sure. For me to try to see how I can build stuff with my own communities, right? But in terms of artists that have inspired me and excited, um, yeah, I mean, it's been fun to see some artists recently like launch their own projects. Um, like it's really cool to see artists that are community members of my own projects eventually graduate in a sense and launch their own collection, have their own following, have their own community, um, and build off of that themselves. That's really cool. That's one of the best things I'd honestly recommend to an artist. Maybe some artists try to do like a 10,000 supply or something, and that's just like bonkers. Like, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody anymore. I'm exhausted from launching them myself personally. But for an artist that has an existing following, I think a really wise thing for them to do is to do a smaller supply drop, like 500 or even just hand drawn, 50 or 100, and
Yeah,
do more every now and
one-on-ones.
then. Even those are really nice too. Just anything that helps you actually like establish a home for your community. It's really, really cool to see artists have their own following and, build their own influence in a sense with the people that their art connects with.
Yeah, and again, this is the one space where I would witness it frequently, positive feedback loops of someone just doing something and some
That's true.
random artist being like, "Oh, that's cool," and then
That's
instead
true.
of people being straight up stingy with their likes or sharing, like actually share it throughout the community and be like, "Hey,
Right.
if you're
It's
into
crazy to
this."
see how much inspiration just like flows through the space sometimes, even if it's, a little bit on the value extractive side of things sometimes, but like people definitely get inspired by what they see, and it definitely makes rounds in countless ways, the ways you can't describe or measure. But the impact and the inspiration is definitely like spread through the whole industry without a doubt.
So what's your ideal scenario with uwucrew? Like, what's the short-term idea to be building to? And again, we're just assuming NFTs are going to be here. Let's just
Right.
assume that. Let's assume that regardless of price go up, price go down,
Right.
overall, it's just going to be here and people are going to be using it. What's the ideal scenario? What are the things you hope you can see or be a part of as this space evolves?
Well, Collectr is a big part of that for me. Collectr has kind of, I want to say, I mean, it's a struggle to deliver everything possible for an NFT project, right? These are people who've already paid to be a part of something, and it's difficult to reward them, and also it's difficult to build a business off of them too. Like they're not going to be the same people who are going to keep giving you money, right?
Sure.
You're supposed to be rewarding them in a sense, right? So that loop is a little challenging. So collectors come in as a sort of, I want to say it's like a love child of all the different parts of what I've done, all built into one. It's kind of like this little beautiful, simple art collecting product. We just I haven't introed Collectr yet. I'll just take this opportunity to intro it quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Collectr is a platform that we want to have all of the on-chain community enjoy collecting digital art. And we do this by publishing art that is incredibly crypto native to the community. We started by highlighting different NFT collections and communities. So, this month's is about an NFT collection called Tubby Cats, which has a pretty big following in terms of the crypto Twitter scene. And we've made this piece for them and their community. Like we've even included some of their community members into the art as well. But the goal for Collectr is to continue to keep creating really on-chain native art and to create different art that appeals to different subsects of the crypto community. For example, for November, we're going to be having a art piece dedicated to supporting developers of Ethereum. We're going to be partnering with a group named Protocol Guild, which focuses on funding all sorts of development in Ethereum. That's really critical.
That's awesome.
The literal example they gave us was garbage workers. If they don't do their work, society is ruined.
Yeah, collapse, full collapse.
But we don't even notice them, right? So that's the example they gave for themselves. And we found a really fitting artist that has a really gritty style that fits the aesthetic super well. And yeah, the idea is, hopefully we make this ETH themed art, right? This art that has an ETH narrative, like it's literally about an ETH narrative, and that can attract the greater ETH community to come and collect it and participate with Collectr, versus it just being about a specific NFT project that we've been doing so far, right?
Well, and I think it's like core to the people who really believe in the space want to see the whole space evolve, not just their project.
Right.
Right. The idea of tying it back to somebody else is just like, I don't know, to me it's like an olive branch to say we're not going to rug. Because that's ultimately that's everyone's big concern, right? Is that they're going to take my money and promise me a bunch of stuff and then nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So it's again that's doubling down. That's saying not only do I believe in this space, we're cross promoting here. This isn't just about us. This isn't just about our success, because a lot of other people need to exist for us to even have this ecosystem.
That's right. There's countless people working on this, and it feels wonderful to have a platform that can actually, give them some vision, give them some visibility. I would say it would be better to say. And also, it's just awesome. Like we're making art that, the art piece that we're making for November. It's almost as if we've envisioned the world of Ethereum in a sense. There's different islands with these different layer 2s and stuff, and we usually portray actual people in the art, but Protocol Guild didn't want that because there's so many people involved with Ethereum. It didn't feel right to just pick one person and highlight them, right? So we have this super generalized person on some type of motorbike traveling through different layer 2s and connecting the chains from the main ETH island in the center to the say the base island or something. It's really fun.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just hang on one second. My dog's barking. 1 second.
No worries.
Okay, my apologies. Problem solved. I oftentimes when I'm thinking about this, I wonder if you think this, or if other people in the space think this. Do you think that the NFT space at some point is going to require a tangible component. Like I'm of the mind that yes, in its infancy right now, the digital thing makes sense. But at some point in the future, do you think it will be almost expected to, like, when you do a collection, to have there be a tangible print or an action figure based on one of the characters in the collection? You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, great question. So me personally, I think crypto as a whole and the on-chain community as a whole is kind of like this recognition of how digital we all are nowadays, like how digital the world has become, how essential the digital world has been to us. Currently it's just been websites for us to buy physical stuff, but I do think with time and as there's more built on it, it's hard to say exactly like what's a strong use case. That's why I like art so much, because it's just a simple use case to portray. But besides that, I do think crypto as a whole is a greater recognition of the impact the digital world can have, and the different trade-offs it does provide. Like, say, it becomes a global economy once it's digital, right? Which is irreplaceable. And also introduces challenges for physical product, right? Like I have to ship stuff to Thailand, or something. But my opinion on that is that I see the world shifting a bit more and leaning towards preferring these digital assets. Not preferring necessarily, but a market arising for them in a stronger sense, right? Just like how, attention is like fully digital nowadays, right? Like anything you get attention from is either on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. We're already digitally online, right?
But advertising is completely moved online, like 100%. That
media, television, movies, even. It's incredible. It's bonkers. But the sad part of that is, it's online, but we don't really own anything anymore, right? It's pretty astonishing. I've been building up some physical DVDs of stuff just to hold on to some things in case they get removed from somewhere, or who knows.
Safety, yes.
Right, yeah. And even like taking my favorite YouTube videos and burning them onto a DVD just to like hold on to them in some way, know? But that's because of link rot. That's because the online stuff dies, and we can't trust it. It's also at the mercy of whatever companies are responsible for it, and blah blah blah. But that's where the transition to on-chain comes in, where we actually have these assets that are, for the most part, proven to stay reliable with certain data providers and whatnot. Even some being totally written on the chain that are kind of permanent in that sense. But yeah, it takes this digital world that we're so used to not owning anything in, and it actually gives us an opportunity to own something and even, hold on to it on chain forever, if we so desired to.
It's funny. I completely agree with all that, and I am constantly wondering why more people don't see, again, just down the line. Right now, it isn't this amazing, incredible thing, but the potential that it has to, in some ways, secure just transactions as a whole. But I think some people still, and like, so I can explain that to some people and they'll be like, oh, okay, I see the point. I see the benefit there. But what a lot of people still can't get over is the tangible component. Now, I agree with you. Right. I think we're headed in a digital, like nobody owns fucking CDs anymore.
Right.
It's all iTunes. It's all on a digital file. It's on your phone that you downloaded from a server. Like but it took us a decade to get to that point.
Right.
So I just think it's hilarious that like that's the thing that people get stuck on, even though the rest of their life is digital. They don't have cash money.
Right. That's a big one too. Right.
It's like we're already all digital, but I think people are just, again, they're like, afraid of something new. They're afraid of change, and they can't necessarily see. Like, from when I think about this shit, I think I've always thought this. Like, NFTs to me are the ticket of the future. So when we live in a world where blockchain is integrated with all layers of society,
Right.
you don't pay for your Netflix on your account and anyone can use it from anywhere. You have to have an NFT for that year or whatever, that month. And then that is plugged into your device and that authorizes, like, I can see that corporations are looking at it and they're salivating because it does, in a lot of ways, lock down the transacting of digital goods, access. You know, again,
Right,
like,
that's true.
people think NFT is just a picture, and it can be a picture, but it can be a whole bunch of things.
Right.
And, you know,
It's really
I don't
like
know.
digital property.
Digitally, when we live in a completely digital integrated world,
Right.
how do you say I am who I am and I'm allowed to have access to this thing?
That's
Because
right.
we still haven't figured that out on the internet. Like, we got passwords, we've got
Right.
crazy defenses, but shit can
Right.
get easily hacked, as we see on a regular basis. I'm sure,
That's
you know,
right.
that's something that you're super well aware of, just like, you know, being a dev and understanding
Right.
all the subtleties of, like, information security.
Right. Right.
But, you know, I'm interested to see, like, in your mind, like, what are some cool ways that this stuff could get used beyond just, again, images.
Yeah, I mean, digital ticket is a great way to put it. Some companies might not be okay with giving up that much power, right? They do enjoy the position they're in, and they're scared to lose that.
Sure.
But you know, I'm sure if they think about it, and I'm sure they can find a way to make it even work for them. Like you said about Netflix, they can have greater restriction over account sharing and whatnot. Like, who would want to share a private key with somebody, right? Like, that's not really a secure thing to do in any event
Exactly
with anybody. And even if we do, you know, once we have more complicated account setups too in the future, who knows? Who knows? But in terms of other incredible stuff out there that people have been building with NFTs in general, I'm really art brained, man. Like I really am. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff, you know. But you know,
Well, I
one
mean,
thing I'd love to
even
see would be
let's-
like government IDs, for example.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd love to see. Of course, you know, we shouldn't have your accounts be susceptible to clicking a bad link or something. But you know, hopefully in the future, when accounts are more resilient and less, you know, 12 words only, I'd love to see government IDs put on chain somehow. You know, it's easy to see what yours is, and it's easy to update it or maybe verify it. Maybe, you know, it doesn't even have to be all public necessarily with technology like zero knowledge stuff. Maybe you can even have your ID, have all the data actually be private, but then you can just prove that it's your ID when you use a service or go to some government office or something.
Register to vote or even vote.
Right. Voter, right. Even that too.
I guess we can even reframe.
And then you
that
wouldn't
a
even
bit
have
more.
to, you wouldn't even have to like receive a physical one anymore. Like, it could just be arrive in your phone. Like, you won't have to worry about losing it
Just
or
like
getting
everything
it
else.
scanned or anything. Right.
We're already there. People
Right.
are like, so they have a hard time accepting that we're already there, but it wouldn't
Right.
that be easier? But like, it's like the internet, but way more secure.
Right.
Also susceptible to
Yeah, I
links
mean,
right now, but
you're responsible for your security, right?
Right.
That's the way it is right now. So not many people are you know, able to take care of that. But yeah, it's also a challenge because you know, I think it's hard to not force crypto stuff onto people. Like, some people aren't ready to be on chain, right? Which is you know, I mean, it's just sad. I want to see the whole world on this, just not because of the NFT side, but the financial side of it alone. I mean, people are victim to the economy around them, right?
yeah,
Really
no,
victim.
Sure.
And crypto kind of opens people up and lets them participate with the whole world, without being discriminated or limited or restricted from where they are. So that's one aspect that makes a huge impact for everybody, really, even if you're already in a privileged country like America or something. But we also can't force it, unfortunately. I see a lot of projects, especially NFT projects, trying to bring in the Web2 people into the on-chain community. And, some of them are seeing some success with it, like Pudgies. I mean, at least they're like reaching the Web2 audience. How many of those people are coming into crypto? I can't really say for sure how many, how that's working, but it's at least, I have a difficulty trying to bring in totally new people into the scene. I'd rather try to expand NFT to the current on-chain community, whoever that is, right? There's countless people who actually do have wallets and do have balance in their, wallets and do use crypto, but not necessarily all of them participate in the PFP scene. Like, NFTs in general, there's different sides there, but for people to come into and get a PFP, like, that's just so many layers to cut across. Yeah. There's so many things to say, and what's the value with it? Like, what do I get for it? Like, what do I do with it once I get it? Like, it doesn't have to be about all that side of things. Like, Collectr was just like, hey, we have this awesome art. Do you want to collect this piece of this on-chain culture artifact almost, and hold on to this little piece of history and know that you supported the creator behind it on-chain? I want to try to push people towards that, at least, who are already in the scene, right? Versus working so hard to cross that bridge for people when it's really, I mean, emotional wouldn't be the right word, but there are all sorts of ways that people are, taught to believe about financials and money in general.
Sure.
That puts their government in a position of authority over them. And they're not really aware of that in general. So in general, switching over to crypto is a way to to make yourself a global citizen. And I wish more people would just see that angle in general versus having to be shilled on it or having to join something because of some perk or something. Just being a part of the global on-chain community is such a beautiful change for anybody. I'd love to see people just join it in general. But that takes time.
Well, it does, and I think you're right. You definitely don't want to be cold converting people who don't give a shit. It does make more sense. Dude, the bear market sorts them out.
That's very true.
The bear, what I always have looked, I've been through, I guess I probably got into crypto around the same time you did, 2016, 2017. A good friend of mine in Nashville turned me onto it. Cool. And I was hooked, and then Preston doing all the things that he did, getting to watch all that was just super cool. But we've ridden a few of these waves, and I stopped caring about the price a long time ago on anything that I own, and I've always really acquired ETH in particular to transact on the network. That's how I pay to participate in this space. But the real motherfuckers are here doing it. The real people have been here the whole time. They didn't go anywhere. The bear, the bull, doesn't matter. These people are here and they're still doing it. Those are the people that matter. And especially right now, what I've always loved about the bear is all the cool stuff that comes at the next bull. Because all these people were like, well, now I'm even more convinced. I'm even more convinced that this is the future and we will get there. Cold converting, again, Taylor Swift fans, no. There's no need for that. Right. It doesn't. One of the things, and I say this all the time when I'm talking about music or people who are doing music or releasing music, you don't need 1 million followers. You need a couple hundred people who really give a shit about what you do. Right. They'll support you. They will straight up put money in your pocket to subsidize what you're doing. But you gotta just do it and continue doing it even when it's not cool. Even when the number's down, you still keep doing it because it's just, you believe in what you're doing and your goal.
That's the really beautiful side of it for sure. Just how many people are dedicated to it in all sorts of ways. I mean, I know with old team at Prismatic, like they all had their
Hardcore.
own ways to be dedicated and
Yeah.
saw their own, value in the space to keep working so hard to bring Ethereum to the whole world, right? There's all types of people that can. I mean, as an American, it might be hard to see just how much it can help these other people, right? Because Americans
Very
have
easy to take it for
have a
granted.
lot of good, for sure.
For sure.
And it's we're in a privileged perspective, so it's hard to see how much technology like this can actually make a difference for all sorts of people out there. But even then, even as privileged as we are, there are a lot of benefits it can make for Americans in general. But people might not attach to it the same way. But yeah, it's beautiful seeing how dedicated people are. All types of, people have all types of reasons to be in this and be so dedicated. I shared a lot of similar goals with the Prismatic team when I was with them, and now my goals have shifted to more towards this art side and bringing as many people towards this art community, this on-chain art community as possible. It's a lot of fun for sure, and it's nice to make my impact in my own way too. That's not necessarily super technical and related in that sense. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think I'm always an enabler for anyone who's like doing anything creative, because I feel like creative, at least for me, creativity and expressing myself creatively are what make it so that I don't jump out a window. Like they are they allow me to appreciate the beauty in life in a world where it's kind of difficult to find those things. Hope is in short supply right now in general in the world.
Especially if you stick to physically around you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Right. I to me, this is it was so exciting to watch this space kind of emerge and evolve. Like even I remember Preston turning me on to POAP, like POAP, and then just like understanding what that would mean. I used to work Preston and I met working large scale music festivals. And he told me about POAP, and the first thing I'm thinking of is what would a festival be like if I was able to interact digitally with my space. Like I don't need to carry around a book, a list of bands playing at this festival. I just walk up and scan this thing, and then it says that I was there and I got a cool little thing for going to see this band. And I don't know, like for me, I'm a decided futurist. So when I look at all the different things that are right now in their infancy, and the fact that they're still going now, at least since they were put on my radar for 5-6 years ago, I'm really excited to see what kind of, like, nothing would make me happier than getting to go to like an actual physical art space with all of this art displayed and be able to interact with the space. I don't know. It's just like the future from the perspective of the digital creator is exciting and terrifying, but I'm of the mind that it's much more exciting just because of all I mean, even just think of what we can do now. Right. Even just how people create art now, like going digital empowered a lot of people to do that. And like you're saying, this NFT projects, this space as a whole, creators who are empowering other creators and want to support them, that can give somebody who couldn't make a dam selling their paintings in the middle of nowhere, Connecticut or Thailand or Africa. Right. But because they're now that's the benefit, pro of technology, despite all the cons. But I just don't know if it's one of the things I've loved about it. I never used Twitter before I got into the whole crypto stuff. So getting familiar with crypto Twitter was one whole thing, because that's a whole world unto itself. But yeah, NFT Twitter is delightfully unhinged. Not just the projects that are being had, but just the people there who are like deliberately trying to do the craziest, wackiest, One of the first things Preston put on my radar was, and this was a while ago now, I can't even remember the name of the DJ. It was a DJ who released a record as an NFT. And, you know, with every NFT that you sold, you got a t-shirt and a cassette, but it like counted toward his record sales. Tory Lanez ended up doing something during kind of the last big bull. Do you think it's a matter of like, it's just going to take more artists, like bigger artists who may not necessarily be into NFTs now, but they're a known artist name doing, or like seriously taking like converting their analog art to now being fully digital? What do you think it's going to take for, you know, this to not be snuffed at? You know, like when an artist does a release, I can see a future where we're selling NFTs at Sotheby's. That may have already happened, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's some. Sotheby's has done a few NFT auctions,
yeah,
but
so we're already kind of at that precipice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll take different people using this stuff to attract different crowds for sure. A lot of people wait to see other people using stuff before they jump in, right? So I think that's a natural way for things to adjust. One thing that comes to mind is there is a Japanese illustrator that has done a lot of famous work for Pokemon. And he joined the NFT scene, I want to say around November 2021. And that was a very pivotal point for the art ecosystem. There was a huge influx of Japanese artists coming in. Not only did he publish an NFT, but he also spoke very proudly about what it enabled, what it made possible. He put out a very great, wonderful message about it. And I know that he even has a YouTube channel with a lot of followers, and he published a YouTube video about it as well. And he has a type of influence where, even if he had some haters, he has such a strong character and strong, reputation that people opened up to it after seeing him, speak so proudly about what the benefits of it were. But yeah, in general, it would have to be different creators coming in for sure. I think one challenge is people might try to challenge the traditional industry too upfront. Like they might try to think, oh, we need a competitor to Spotify on chain. Like that's the only way this is going to work.
Right.
But, Spotify is brought to benefit because of numerous reasons that it's centralized, right? There's countless ways that being centralized helps it work.
Sure.
For both the company and the consumers, at least, right? The creators, maybe they get the short end of the stick in that situation, right? But when they have the consumers with such a great experience, it's tough to win them over somewhere else, right? But one thing I see, at least, I think collectibles in general are a pretty safe approach for most musicians. You don't necessarily have to, leave Spotify or move what you're doing on Spotify somewhere else, but more so like you put some good effort, you create something fun that fits into your musical tastes, your styles, what your audience enjoys. And you publish an NFT of that, maybe. Like there's this Japanese musician named Kikuo, Kikuo, that he published on Foundation. And he got some hate, unfortunately, from it. But he has a huge following. He doesn't do them anymore. But he has a huge following within the community, and he actually had a great success publishing, maybe it was 12 NFTs. Some of them were just the cover art for the songs, and he had the artist that did the art on split with the piece as well, so that it benefited them as well. Super cool. Really awesome. Some of them were like never released remix versions that were like little, 20-second loops of some of his most favorite songs. Really, really awesome. Really nice way to not envision NFTs as a replacement for the existing music community. More like a companion. Yeah, like a companion, something that can accompany it really well and also add something really new. Like it's a way for you to release new tracks you haven't done before, maybe just little 20-second things and have some nice little animation or something accompanied with it. It's really cool to see how he used it and, how little competitive it was to the music in general. I think approaches like that are really great, and I'd love to see more artists push that. I love collectibles in general. I mean, with digital stuff too, it just makes clear sense too, right? With Collectr, like what we're doing, I think it really just makes clear sense to collect things in a digital sense. Like, dude, I go to artist cons, like like anime conventions, and there's the artist alley, and like they're always selling like posters or badges or pins or keychains, and like, man, I have enough physical stuff. Like, I wish I could just buy something digital from you and not worry about taking it back home or
losing it on the way there. Yeah,
right, or finding a place to use it or something. I just want to support you, you know. So like I love to see more artists encourage NFTs from the collectible side, and as find ways to have it accompany the physical rather than have it compete or replace the physical. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. It's definitely like whenever I get on my soapbox about it, that's usually where my head lands. Is like it's not the NFT doesn't become the singular thing. It just becomes another avenue. Like, you know, I record a ton. Maybe it's not going to turn into a song, but how sick would it be to have like a series of NFTs of just songs that got to a certain point but aren't really to the, like, I don't need to do a record of that. But for people that were into the music that maybe want to hear shit that didn't make it, it's like a B-sides or rarities kind of thing. You know, I would agree with you that there in the future, when these things are actually appreciated as collectibles, people had no problem collecting their ticket stub. Right? It wasn't the show. It wasn't the video of the show. Right. But it was just a memento.
Something to hold on to.
Right. Just a memento, you know, a thing, a nice memory of. Right. And, you know, I don't know. I've clearly seen that as what these things are. It's a compendium to what we already have. It's not going to ever replace a tangible, but when I buy a digital record on iTunes, damn, it'd be sick if I got a fucking physical something. A poster, a sticker, even. I'll take a sticker. But, you know, I see NFTs as being like, they are the bridge. It's just getting people to kind of abandon the idea, as they have with everything else. No one keeps VHSs. Very few people keep VHSs. Very few people have DVDs. You said you were collecting a few. I've got a few in my closet. Like, same thing, like movies that I just always want to have the option to view.
Stuff I don't want to lose because of some licensing deal or something.
some stuff way above my pay grade that I have no say in. Right. But I think my other favorite thing about NFTs as a whole is the fact that the creator doesn't have to worry about chasing down money. Every time somebody interacts with that thing, the appropriate people are specifically doled their exact amount. There's no dispute. You can look at that transaction. The math always adds up. And again, from my perspective, completely, and from my perspective and my understanding of the music business, the reason that the music business doesn't want to participate in that way is because you'd see how badly everyone's getting ripped off by.
That's true.
And it's not exclusive to the music industry. I'm sure it happens at some perspective in every industry. But, you know, I guess I would like to speak a little bit on that because I think it's a thing that kind of gets swept under the rug. What is the benefit of releasing as a digital art creator? What is the benefit of releasing digital art and knowing that no matter who interacts with this thing in the future, you will get whatever creator portion is you know, set aside or you know, what I don't know what the question is there, but I'm just interested in your perspective. Like, is that the real power here? Is that how you sell this to creatives? Is like,
I think a really great power behind it is just how much the individual matters. Like, we're not necessarily victim to a company. I think I'd be wrong to say that. Yeah. It'd be more like, you know, you use a company's tool to leverage yourself. Like Foundation, for example, those were a popular NFT website. You would use Foundation to publish your NFTs, but you're not necessarily a victim to Foundation. You're just using their tooling for your own purpose to reach your audience, right? You're not reaching Foundation's audience really when you're publishing on there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the royalties side of things has been, rather thrashed. Exchanges have gone, it's unfortunately the PFP side of the NFTs take a lot of attention from the one of one or art side of NFTs. So that's where most of the liquidity is. So that's where a lot of the focus goes for products, at least like these marketplaces, right? That want to charge fees and extract value in that way. But
Sure.
Unfortunately, traders don't really like royalties at all because it cuts off from their trading opportunities, right? So these big marketplaces, it's been a fight for years to either enforce royalties or make them optional or whatnot. And it still affects, and unfortunately, even if it's just for the PFP collections, it still affects the creators too. They still make decisions that affect the creators sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
But I'd say in general, the going on chain is a great way to leverage yourself, your skills, your influence, your audience, and grow that within the digital side of things, and just gather a committed following that's willing to support you, even if you're not physically going to them with a concert or doing some any type of physical presentation for them. But at least you can actually have a community with them, and that they've actually supported you in some way, as a creator. I might listen to someone on Spotify and whatnot, but I mean, am I really supporting them if I do that?
Typically, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's some way. Maybe I do a bit. I give them some play numbers, maybe. And
you're gonna need a lot of play numbers,
right? Some fraction of a cent.
Exactly.
So, it's not really like actually like supporting them. But if you publish an NFT and let's say if it's an auction, you just need one person to show up and support you, and be willing to pay whatever they might be willing to pay, and that's all it takes for you to get who knows how much. But if you have multiple people coming by to support you, then that means you're getting a competition on the auction, or you get a community too. It's not necessarily just a competition on trying to fight for something, but you actually have people who show up or maybe they're like excited for you to drop your next thing, so they can actually get something from you, or something like that.
Well, yeah, and again, we're kind of coming back to the fandom in this space is really unique. There's just so much shit on Web 2. There's so much stuff. People are putting out stuff. It's like billions of bits of data every second, just from all over the place. It's harder to cut through. But I feel like regardless of how many projects exist there now, or the biggest ones or the smallest ones, it's still fertile ground. The NFT space is really a space that you can go into and start releasing your particular brand and have a chance of people to see it much more so than putting music on Spotify.
Right.
You see what I mean? Or just, uploading the picture that you painted onto Facebook Marketplace or something.
Right.
I don't know.
My best advice to any creators who are looking to grow on chain would be to just engage as much as possible. Especially if someone actually directly engages with let's say you post somewhere and someone comments at it, like reply to them, actually go through, engage with them. That's the best way to build a community. That's what we try to do with all of our NFT profile accounts on Twitter. Like, we try to engage with the community as much as we can, because like you said earlier, even you just getting a like or getting some engagement from the team that you got some NFT from or something made a huge impact for you. And imagine that as a creator too. Like, you don't want to just post there and not be responsive at all, right? You don't want to just be silent. Maybe some artists can afford to do that, right? But I think it helps them, even helps the bigger artists to actually engage and be a part of the community with their own audience, which is something that Web3 and on-chain is different from Web2.
It really is. I mean, really interacting with crypto and NFT Twitter taught me how to be social on social media. Like, my wife is a master at social media, and she would always try and explain this to me, and I just wouldn't get it. and then spending some time in there. And like I said, just in the simple act of liking or commenting, having the person who was the figurehead of that project respond, I was just like, damn, really? Like they're actually like, they'll, if I say something, they'll actually respond to it. So I continue to engage with that space. But you know, it ain't like that on Instagram. You know, it's not like that.
That's true.
When I'm just when I'm putting my regular things out on Web 2, it just feels like it gets immediately lost in the fray. It doesn't even have a moment to be a thing. I don't know. Those are the things. That's why I'm kind of most excited about that space too, is because it's still so young. Like it's really not. It had a big boost during the last bull, but everyone is on the surface. Everyone's like, that space is dead, and it's not. There's a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I really don't even know where the next bull is going to take it. Again, especially considering all the people that are still here building, and like building the world they want to see. You know,
Right.
And hang on one second. I'm going to yell at my dogs. 1 sec. Sorry about that. I'll cut these out too.
Nice.
What excites you about the future for not only uwucrew, but for your, like, what are you most excited for personally, and with your projects as this space evolves? Again, we're just assuming that this will continue on and it will continue to grow, and adopt people in the way that it has, and the way that other revolutions in technology, have taken their time to reach mass adoption. But what are the things that most excite you about what you're doing in the space, and what are some things you hope to see?
Well, it seems like some of the space has been more aware lately of how important accessibility is. With developers, there's an easy tendency to focus on the technicals of things, and like how something might work and how quick it works, for example, and how scalable it is and whatnot. But scale isn't really needed until you have those people coming in to begin with, right? And that activity coming in to begin with, which definitely changes in a bull, without a doubt. Even if most of that activity is just like trading or something simple like that, right? But there's a lot of exciting stuff being built in terms of accessibility lately, especially with the layer 2s, getting more, growing as their own network and as their own community. There's really cool, Coinbase has this really cool thing called the smart wallets that they've built lately that lets people go into any website and just make a wallet with a fingerprint on their phone, and they already have a wallet just like that. They can take their phone anywhere and have the same wallet. If they go on a computer, they can connect it to their phone too. From that sense, it's really incredible to not have people actually have to make 12 words, write them down, keep them safe, don't lose them. All that
Chisel it in
stuff.
stone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically it's intense. Maybe we don't want everybody doing phone wallets necessarily, right? But like, people gotta start somewhere, and it's not like people are gonna be placing the freaking treasury on here. So let's say I want to send someone a Collectr edition as a thank you or something, like, and just tell them, hey, go on the website, click create wallet, you scan a thing from your phone, and I'll send the piece to you, and boom, you have it. I'd love to also add like credit card payments to Collectr, so it'd be cool if somebody could literally just make a wallet on their phone, not even worry about loading ETH into it. They pay with the credit card or whatever, it buys ETH, it mints it for them, it sends it to their wallet, all for them automatically, and they can collect without even having to go through an exchange to get ETH or something. Of course, that needs them to recognize the digital side. It'll be a lot of fun for sure. Maybe we got to put some messaging on there about the impact of digital art and how it helps people in general, and how different it is from the physical world. But I'm definitely excited to see more accessibility tools built. Now it's just a matter of building products that normal people would enjoy using and see the value in, for them to come in here, right? Because we have some stuff that's really cool, but maybe, for DeFi, for example, it's a little restrictive if you don't have a lot of money to begin with to use it. So that's where the difficulty comes in. But hopefully with more time, there's different creators doing really cool stuff. And I think collectibles are pretty... people already collect digital collectibles. They're just not NFTs, right? There's already like your Steam profile, like who knows? There's all sorts of stuff. So I think there's already a great audience for that and people who do enjoy it in general. It's just a matter of having stuff that they would want to collect to begin with on here, or maybe having the creators that they enjoy join the ecosystem and participate as well. Now that it's more accessible, it makes it easier for the creators too. You don't have to worry about ETH gas fees, for example, or something, right? Ours doesn't need to spend a fraction of what they're making to publish anymore or something. It's a great change for sure, and it's beautiful to see. It's wonderful to see how much the technology. I mean, there's people been working for years on this technology to finally have it be out and see the impact it's making. It's really exciting.
It is. It's really cool, and really, it's like in a very short period of time, it's gone from a very simple idea to, literally turtles all the way down of ecosystems and communities of people building different aspects and trying to find the creative way to integrate it in the real world in a way that normal people find intuitive. But, Coinbase is making some serious strides, definitely making it a simple app that people can use that's similar to any other trading or like that was huge when that came out. And that for 5 years, people were looking at me like I was crazy for having that thing. Now all those people have a Coinbase account. So, it's interesting. I kind of, it reminds me a little bit of like watching game ecosystems emerge. I don't know how old you are, but I was old enough to remember maybe like the Super Nintendo, Sega. That was like my era of game consoles. And turning into what it is now. I also see games as a space that are rife for the adoption of things like NFTs, but I also understand most game companies are going to be hard sells because right now they completely centralize and own their marketplace, kind of like what we were talking about before. What's the incentive for them to change that? But I remember 15 years ago when somebody was telling me they were buying an account for World of Warcraft for $1,000. I was like, that's fucking nuts. But now it doesn't really seem that crazy. That seems like a reasonable price. Because that whole thing has turned into what it has turned into. I don't know. For me, it's like, it is just a matter of time. I also see the conversation in general of decentralization becoming more of a topic. I remember it being super obvious when they had like the power outages in Texas and a bunch of people died because it was so cold.
Oh, wow.
I remember there being a ton of news reports about, is it a bad thing to have centralized power? How do we decentralize power? How do we decentralize utilities as a whole so that if this area goes down, the whole state doesn't go down, just that one little area goes down.
That's crazy. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, and it's going to take a long time before everyone's house has windmills or solar panels and a battery bank that can feed the community on demand. It's going to be a while before we get there, but we are making steps in that direction. And I don't know, to me, again, we need to be decentralizing things. A lot of the problems that we have in society as a whole right now are because too many things are just centralized and controlled by greedy fucks, a small number of greedy fucks.
That's right.
And I don't know, the crypto space is also filled with greedy fucks, but they're also, I to be honest with you, I haven't met many. I've met a few, but most of the people that I know who are in crypto at any level, from just a casual holder to a dev, they're people who really give a shit. They really care about the success of the space. They really care about creating a space where there's like an actual democratic component to it. You know, I
Real
don't
sense
know.
of community too.
For sure. Like that being a tenant. Like we're
Right.
not, even when I kind of became about the first couple, or when I became aware of the first, you know, bigger Bored Apes or anything like that, the idea of the community, it was like, you don't just buy the thing to have it, you buy it so you can have access to the community. Or because you want to contribute in the community. I don't know. Again, like I've been playing music my whole life, and I've been a part of very few scenes that were as immediately welcoming and like actually focused on the success of the scene as a whole instead of just this one band or just this one group of people.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, it's weird. But I guess the one thing I kind of want to double back to here a little bit is like, I want you to explain Collectr a bit more, and just kind of expand upon what the not necessarily sell it, but yeah, sell it. You know, if you were going to have to give the pitch to the generic person on the street, how would you sell these things?
Well, I'd say collecting is it's a thing that we've done for, as humans, we've done for a very long time. I personally enjoy collecting all sorts of things myself, not necessarily trying to build a full collection of something necessarily, but it's just fun to hold on to different mementos, like you said, of different aspects of things. Would you mind going to the website? The Collectr website.
Yeah.
So if you click
right
collect there, you'll take you to the edition page, and you can see the split on chain if you'd like to, if you're curious about how it's actually helping,
that's awesome.
Who's involved, you can actually see that yourself.
That's super
This
cool.
all happens, on Mint. We don't hold any of it ourselves. It goes straight to them, whatever their portion is. So we made this piece to highlight this community. And, I spoke to some community members of Tubby Cats, and they all said they wanted to see this artist make a piece. So at that point, I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go with this artist. They're incredible. The community's going to love it. So if you scroll down, you'll see we even put some extra info about the artist who's making the piece. And we the artist doesn't speak English, but we work with them to, we take their Japanese answers and translate them, make them good for presentation, make them look cute. Make them look professional, and then also the same thing for the project that for the group that we're highlighting in the art as well. So this is we started with these NFT projects, right? But my goal is to make art that anyone who is it's NFTs, right? It's just NFTs on its own. So if you don't have a wallet, you're not going to collect it to begin with. If you're not in crypto, I'm not really expecting someone to collect it to begin with either necessarily. Maybe they just like the art a lot because it's really awesome art, right? So maybe they like it on that front, right? Because art just has no boundaries in that sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in terms of what we make the art about, next for November, it'll be about an ETH group and the piece will actually go supporting the devs of ETH that are working on a public good for the whole community, basically, right? So we'll have the information about the artist that's working on it. You'll learn about who we actually picked to make this piece, and then you'll learn about what that piece is actually about. So people might not know about the group that we're highlighting necessarily, but because we've prepared this presentation and we're really doing, it's incredible world building almost for Ethereum. It's really awesome.
Yeah,
People can actually learn more about the group that a big group that makes Ethereum happen and keep working.
Well, this too, like this is beautiful. This is what I wished OpenSea was. It's what
Right.
I wished any of the
More
other
personal.
marketplace. Well, really, yeah. Like, tell me about the artist. Okay, these are all the things that they have listed, but like, where do I go to find their other shit? How do I
Right.
follow them on social? Like, even just simple stuff.
Yeah, true.
But this is awesome that this is all together. The split being right here is also super cool.
Yeah.
Again, this is the component I think that most people just don't understand the benefit of being able to have this built into the code. so that a
right.
person or agency doesn't have to stay after tracking its movement and did I get all the value of any time this was traded. But this is awesome. This is a super cool way to approach this, and it's art centric. That's the thing that confused me about OpenSea or even Super Rare. Like, this is supposed to be art centric, but it seems like it's money centric. Doesn't really seem like you give a shit about the artist or anything in general. It's just like, how do we sell stuff?
Right, that's a good point.
And then we also have, I want to show this video too, and just explain this video.
Let me say a bit more before, in terms of our process.
Sure, go ahead.
So, I almost want to say our process is proprietary in a sense. We've been working in the art ecosystem for years now, and we've worked with several artists, right? So, the way that we start with it is we have them come up with some concepts for us, with 2 concepts, and we have them develop a third concept based on our feedback from the first 2. And then from that point, we give them the communities to include, the references to include, it's about tubby cats, put this in there, or whatnot.
Make sure we include this. Yeah.
Right. And we give the artist total freedom in terms of creating the piece. We're very mindful of not being too restrictive over what they're creating, and also serving as like a guide as much as possible, really. We also don't have them be in the middle of everything. Like, they don't get orders from the brands themselves. They don't get ideas from the community members themselves. We kind of handle the aggregation of all of that, and then prepare the presentation in a way that's creatively respectful to the artist, that lets them focus on just creating the piece. So yeah, let's go through the time lapse.
Let's let me pull this up again here. 1 second. And then I'm pretty sure I can just make this full screen. Yep.
Cool.
All right, Here we go. Okay, great. That's going to go away.
Do the sketch and then the line art.
It's so sick.
Finalize the line art. She has a bunch of little patterns she's reusing.
Color.
They do the rough coloring. Then they go through and render it in detail.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. We make content the whole month. We collect info from the artists for the website, and then also, we work with them to make this content. We also make content about the brands that we're highlighting too, that's in the art. So, for November, for example, maybe we'll be highlighting different types of work Protocol Guild has done throughout the years. And the reason why that piece is in November is because DevCon Southeast Asia is in November. DevCon is the largest Ethereum Foundation hosted conference for developers, for on-chain workers, in the whole scene. So it just felt fitting to do a dev-related piece to celebrate DevCon, and it's also DevCon Southeast Asia. So we're actually having a Southeast Asian artist also create the piece as well.
Oh wow, yeah, it's like checking all of them for sure.
Right, it's all sorts of boxes being checked. So it's really exciting. Protocol Guild is going to help us promote it. They'll have a booth at DevCon, and they'll be helping us, display the art, get outreach, have new people see it. I'm really excited to see what type of boundaries this art will do. We started with NFT projects because it was just more natural for us, It's easy to portray a brand that already has all its characters figured out and whatever and whatnot, while it serves as a portfolio of sorts. Because once we're launched, we can actually talk to different people, right? So launching with Collectr helped us reach out to different people like Protocol Guild, and we're doing something exciting for December too that's more DeFi oriented. But it's really fun to work on these really crypto native art pieces done in a way that is, I mean, unseen. Really, we're gonna represent Protocol Guild in such an awesome way. It's super gritty. Like it's such an active art piece. Like you can feel like they're working. Like it's a worker visiting different layer twos and connecting the chains and whatever. It's really awesome. For December, we're hoping to do something that's like all sorts of different callbacks to the DeFi community. We'd love to make a piece that represents Curve, the DeFi protocol, and also at the same time support Viper, which is a really popular language like Solidity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an alternative to Solidity a bit, but it has a really strong community in the DeFi side of things. So it'll be really interesting to see what type of impact this like super crypto native art has on the collectors that it attracts, and what type of people we get from it. Right.
Well, it's like it's completely crypto centric, right?
Right.
It's I think that's the thing that I love the most about it, is that it's there's people in the NFT space that are just doing art, and they don't, like, the code portion of it is just completely neglected. It's like that's an assumed thing. And I feel like definitely showcasing the fact that this thing exists, and even people who are in crypto who aren't necessarily even into super into NFTs. It's just another reason for them to be like, well, I'm also supporting the space as a whole, or I'm supporting, they're showcasing these things that I like with this art, so I will buy this art because it will be perfect for my office, kind of thing.
Right. Imagine you want to decorate your crypto office. Yeah. Now you have some really cool crypto native art.
and like the whole thing from inception to final product, it was completely crypto centric. It's one of the things I really love about it.
That's true. It's a lot of fun for sure. And, it's also something that in a space that's, to be fair, dominated by developers and, builder mentality. It's really cool to bring creativity to, what hasn't really been covered in the same way before. And we the main pieces we have to show for this type of, like the November piece and then the Curve piece that we're doing in December. It's really just a start, for us. We had to start off with these projects, but doing these super general crypto community pieces is really exciting, and I'm looking forward into seeing what else we do down the road, what other types of crypto groups we highlight, what types of efforts we prioritize and bring attention to for people to recognize and hold on to a memento of it, right? So it's a lot of fun.
Again, even just. I've always been a big person for credit. I just want the credit for whatever I participated in. Just please give me the credit that I deserve. And again, this is like the first real NFT page that I've seen that it's not just about the image or the value of the thing. Like this is an image that was made by an artist with an intent behind it. I don't know. This is just from like the general consumer's perspective, that is much more enjoyable to interact with.
Yeah, it feels more Web3 maybe too, right? Like you actually see the different people that
the details. I want to know the details. That's the benefit
great.
of this stuff. So
yeah, when I started working on Collectr, it was a bit of a struggle to decide to do our own platform, right? Because someone might look at us and say, "Oh, why didn't you just do Zora or Foundation or something? Like, why didn't you just publish on there and do that?" But it just felt more right to have our own platform and put our own influence on it and highlight what we wanted to. So that way, people can actually notice that and respect it and appreciate it, because there's already plenty of stuff on those other platforms. It'd be nice to actually make an impact and highlight something in the way that we want it to be highlighted, versus kind of just being, at the mercy of what features these other platforms have.
no, absolutely. I mean, I guess that's kind of like, that seems to be like the critical portion of your mission personally, and definitely with the projects that you're doing. But this this is where the roots for this thing, like this is what makes this last, is because you've got yourself and a handful of other folks who are really out there trying to do stuff just like this. I don't know. I'm not I don't care about the price. I understand what this thing is, and I understand the benefits that it can add for us in the future. And it's just, you know what's crazy to me is that it took this long for even someone to come up with this. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't I was looking into this space for a long time, and it was like this impersonal. That was my main objection to interacting with it in the first place.
Super like FOMO oriented,
yeah,
or
dude,
pressured, or
just there.
something.
This marketplace exists to milk value out of me.
Right.
That's what it feels.
That's the issue too. Like a lot of the bigger companies in crypto, like they might try to design a Web 2 solution for Web 3. But they really kind of like shoehorn it almost. Like now they're struggling with royalties and trying to appeal to. At first they launch and they're like, "Oh, we're creator focused," and then the traders don't want it anymore, and then they take them out, right? But yeah, we actually also include handmade wallpaper versions to everybody who collects.
I saw that. So this is is this a completely separate? Is like made custom for each of these things
for each month, for each monthly release. So we operate every month. From the start of the month we do UTC time zone because it's just fair to do it that way. GMT 0, so from 8 p.m. Eastern of the start of the month, which is midnight UTC, to the end of the month, when it turns into October, we have the piece available. We even give emails out to remind people to come by. If you're really busy and you're just not keeping up that much, you don't go on Twitter at all, you can give us your email and we'll just only send you 3 reminders the whole month for you to come by and make sure you remember to collect it before the month is over. And then once you do collect it, we give wallpapers that are handmade by the artist. They're not just crops. We actually enforce them to not do just props.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they expand on it. They extend it in some ways. They add some effects. They design them for desktop, ultra wide, mobile, Android and iPhone included, smartwatch as well. Sometimes the artists deliver beyond the extra mile and they do like different versions of the wallpapers. Like they'll do like a blue version, or they'll tint it, or they'll make like a dark version of it too, even, or something. It's really fun to see them, just deliver more than we ask. Sometimes it's a lot of fun. We do that so that way, when you collect, you have something to decorate on your phone. It helps us talk to these clients too and say, hey, your whole community, they're going to have wallpapers of your brand, after they could support this edition. So it's something else for them to hold on to. I always make sure I use the wallpapers just so I test them out and make sure they look good and smooth, and I have no extra feedback for them, for the artists, when they're done. But they always come out really, really solid. And it's wonderful to work with creators that are understanding too, and they make it happen. They're a big part of what happens, of course, right? So it's wonderful to work with them and have such an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're already getting more value out of that just by the wallpapers not being a crop, like actually another specifically created image.
Right.
I don't know, man. This is super cool. I'm like really stoked on this.
It's really smooth too, because we just make the wallpapers once and like everyone benefits from it, right? Which is kind of like the beauty of like digital stuff. Like we don't have to actually produce things or something. Like we just make these assets once and it scales infinitely, just like our the Collectr platform itself. Like we can have 10,000 people coming in and we don't have to change a single thing really. So I love building on. I love finding ways to build on Collectr in that way that don't need to scale necessarily. It's a really awesome way to do it. And yeah, you get them once you do collect. The collect button changes into a download wallpapers button, and you can get them for free once you hold Collectr edition.
That is super cool.
Thanks a lot.
Well, yeah, no, I love this. We can probably start wrapping it up here, but before we're completely done here, what I would love is for you to, I've got all the links I pulled up. They will be in the descriptions below, but kind of just tell people where to check out things, and farewell thoughts, I guess.
Sure. I always try my best to keep things up to date for my own personal Twitter. My personal Twitter is at 0xkiwi_. We do a lot on the Collectr. Collectr is every month. It's not that complicated. It's literally just once a month. So you spell it with Collectr without the last O. The domain, we're working on getting a new domain because we've had some unexpected issues with our current one, or trying to get a new one. So we got to find something different now. Every month we have a piece. You can count on us for that. It's a lot of fun to have a product like that. Really, you can always count on us having something available, and it's always the same price too. It's always 0.01 ETH.
Beautiful.
Just not, it's not too much, not too little. Yeah, it fluctuates with the price of ETH, but it's also not like you're giving them 20 cents or something. It's a big difference for whoever's involved, and it's wonderful to see the artists, see how happy they are with how their editions perform, and the impact we make through that in multiple ways, right? So, I like to say we're building on-chain culture. We're taking culture and bringing it on-chain with these types of assets. We're kind of recognizing all these groups that exist and putting a creative face to them, a way for people to imagine them, right? Like I can imagine the Tubbies having fun on their bus, right? So it's so much fun to work with these types of concepts and bring this type of creative utility almost to different brands in the Web3 space.
I love it. And, I guess at some point here too in the future, after you guys do another collection or two, have you back on, maybe even if there's some other folks from the project you want to you want to have come on and weigh in on their thoughts on all the topics we covered today. But this was awesome. This was super great. Thank you for jumping on here and explaining. One of the things that I would try and do with this show is I try and my idea here really is to get people who would normally be on the fence about something to just think about it for a second. And this crypto and blockchain, I've been trying to tell people that this is the way that we're going for a long time, and I feel in general that people are starting to pay attention, that at least it isn't going anywhere. Right. So if you're a person who creates art, if you're a person who releases art on the internet, you need to be looking into this shit, because not only will it be the future, right now, as we've discussed, it is a fertile ground. There's tons of people doing tons of cool stuff. You can too. I've witnessed 1 million people take an idea in the crypto space and turn it into something that's, making a difference in the space at large. So people, if you create, please check out Collectr. Please check out Kiwi.eth. This is the future. This is what it is. You might not like it, but this is what the future is. And
it's a way for you to make your impact on, even with your lone self, like even as just yourself, you can make a huge impact with the community just by being active and engaging and showing that you care about the others around you too. It's really beautiful, and it opens up doors for sure for people who maybe haven't had other options before this. People
in that space, even people who don't create art, like even just the fans, it's a different energy. They're much more enthused about it. They're much more enthused about seeing an artist they like win or like have a success. So again, if you're a person who creates digital art of any medium, you need to be looking into this space and familiarizing yourself with the vernacular, because it ain't going anywhere. But that's enough of my crypto soapbox. Kiwi, thank you for joining me on this journey today. And this has been the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for hosting. Absolute pleasure.
Stay on. We'll stop recording, but we'll talk afterward.
Sure thing.
See y'all later, everybody.
Adios.
This has been the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. The end. with your host, James Oliva. Executive producers, Clint G and James Oliva.
That's obnoxious.
Sound design, mix, and master by James Oliva.
Literally no one cares.
For more totally legitimate business, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Totally Legitimate Business or add us on TikTok at TLBpod.
When will this end?
Thank you for listening. Now get back to work.
Move it along, buddy.